Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll learn how to create a library using Angular framework. We will be developing a library which will have shared web components which we can reuse in different applications. Before starting, I'm assuming that you are already familiar with Angular framework. So without wasting time, let's get started. So we'll jump on to the terminal where we'll hit few CLI commands to generate our Angular library. So we'll hit ng new and then the library name. So in our case, it will be ngx web. It will ask whether we would like to have routing or not. So we'll select no, and then we can choose CSS, SCSS as per our choice. So I'll select SCSS, and now it will start installing the packages. This may take some time, so we'll wait. Okay, so our packages are installed and we have the library in our system now. We can hit ls and then we can see ngx web. So we'll navigate to ngx web using cd command. Okay, we are in library now. So now we'll hit few more commands. So again, it will start the package installation, and we can see the packages are installed completely. Now we can see we can do ls and we can navigate. We can open this in our VS Code. So the folder structure of a library is mostly similar to our normal Angular application, wherein the only difference is it has a projects folder where our library code will be there, and apart from that it will have a normal source folder which will be using as a demo Angular app, where we will be testing our Angular components which will be developing inside this web components library. So if you'll observe the folder structure very carefully, you'll find out that inside projects we have web components, and then we have source folder. Inside source folder we have lib, and inside lib we have one default component which is web components. The name of the component is web components, and this web component will have nothing but only one paragraph which will display web component works. So if you want to test if this library is working perfectly fine in any sample Angular app, so we'll copy its selector. And as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this uh, lecture, that we'll be using this application as a testing application. So we'll come here, we'll paste that selector here, and then we'll have to import the module also. So in our case, the module name is web components module. So it is imported from projects, web components, source, public API. This is because if we go again inside this folder, so we'll find out that all the components, services, and modules are exported from this public API.ts file. Okay, so that's why when we are importing it, importing this module, it is getting imported from this path. So now if we run the server, if I do ngserve this source folder, I'll open this using integrated terminal, and then I simply do ngserve. Okay, so it is building our application, and now we have successfully launched our application, and we can see that this printing web component works, which is nothing but the text which is coming out from this component. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that this is the default folder structure of the library. But suppose if you don't want it this way, what we want to have is we want every component to have its own separate module. For example, we want input component to have its own separate module. We want button component to have its own separate module. So for that, what we're going to do is we'll create a module parallel to this web component. So how we're going to do that is we'll open integrated terminal from this project folder. We'll create a module. We'll do the sample for input component. So now if we again expand this, we'll see that it has created an input module just parallel to this web components, and then we'll create the component as well. We don't want the spec files, so we'll do skip test, and we have all the files created. So if we expand our component, we'll have a folder structure like this, which is nothing but it is also printing the same paragraph like input works. But we don't want input to show this. We want to have a label and input field. So we'll take this label as an input from consuming application, and then we'll have an input which will be of type text. Then we'll come to our component. Here we will write at input, and this will be of string type. We'll have to import this at input from at @angular/core. We are good. Now this is not all about the input module. Now if you want to use this inside any sample Angular app, so as I mentioned earlier, we want to use this as a separate module. So how we're going to do that is we'll restructure our code a bit. I'll explain in a while why we are doing that. So we'll create a source folder here. We'll move all these files to this folder, and we'll create a file on this input called index.ts, and then we'll create a ngpackage.json file. We are creating this file because we want ng packager to take care of building this file and packaging it, as we are exporting this input module as a separate module. So now what we will do over in this file is we'll update the entry path for this module, which in our case it will be index.ts. So we'll update this entry path, and then this dollar schema seems to be correct. We don't have to change anything. Now in our index.ts we'll have to export our component and module. So we'll export it from here, source slash. First we are exporting component, and then we'll import the export the module. Now we have exported component also, we have exported module also. We have added ngpackage.json file so that it is built as a separate module and exported as a separate module. Now I think we are all set. Now what we're going to do is, okay, we'll have to do one more thing. We'll have to export input component also from here. Okay, I think now we are all good. Now next step would be to add this module inside our sample Angular app. So we'll go to app module. We'll add that input module over here. So now the main thing is I would like you to observe the import path. So import path in our case is coming out to be, okay, sorry for this. So now import path in our case is coming out to be projects slash input. It's not like this. We are not navigating inside web components and then source and then public API. It's simply project slash input. So tomorrow, if I have to create another component called button component, what I'll do is I'll simply go inside projects. I'll create a separate module. I'll create a separate index.ts file, separate ngpackage.json file, and I'll export that module from there. And then all the modules, separate component modules, we can import simply like this. So there will be a separate module for every component. This is, the most standard way of implementing the components. Now we have imported this module. Uh, the next thing which we'll be doing is we'll be adding its selector in the app component.html. So selector in our case is app input, and we'll be passing label text also. Label would be enter text. It could be anything as per your choice. I think we are good. Now we can go to the browser, and as we can see, we are already seeing the text over here. It is saying that enter text. It's the same label which we have passed as a prop, and then this is the text input text field. We can check if it's the same field or not. So we'll hover on it. You can see it's the same app input component, and then the label is showing enter text, and then this is the input field. So this is how we can create a separate module for each component. So this is all about how to create a library using Angular and how to create a separate module for every component. In next lecture, what we'll be learning is how to bind this custom component with Angular's reactive or template driven forms.